In this video, we will talk about the four important technical terms, that is attack, check, discovered check, and double check. Now first we will understand what is attack. Attack means to move a pawn or piece in such a manner that according to its capabilities of capturing, it will be able to take the opponent's piece or pawn, that is an adverse piece or pawn. Now while we were recording the Ruy Lopez game, we came across these examples. Now here we saw that the knight is moving from g1 square to f3 square. So it is actually threatening this pawn on e5 square. That is, it can take this black's pawn on e5 square in the next move. So here we can say that this white's knight on f3 square is attacking this black's pawn on e5 square. Similarly, again we came across this example. That is, the bishop moves from f1 square to b5 square, and here the bishop is threatening the knight on c6 square. Thus we can say that this white's bishop on b5 is attacking the black's knight on c6 square. Again in the next move we saw that this black's pawn moves from a7 square to a6 square, and thus it is threatening the bishop on b5. So again we can say that this black's pawn on a6 is attacking the white's bishop on b5. We also came across this move in between the game. That is, the knight on f6 square captures the white's pawn on d5 square. Now by playing this move, the black's knight on d5 square is threatening the white's pawn on c3, and simultaneously it is also threatening the white's bishop on e3. So here we can say that the black's knight on d5 square is attacking the white's pawn on c3 and the bishop on e3 simultaneously. So this is how we can explain what is an attack. Now we will understand what is meant by a check. When the attack is made to a king, it is called a check. It is actually a warning to the opponent. So when a pawn or piece attacks the opponent's king, then it is called a check. Now here we will take an example. This rook on c1 square will go to c6, and thereby it will attack the king. So here, since the rook is attacking the king, we say that this rook gives a check to the king. So if any piece or pawn attacks the king, then it will be called as a check. Now let's see what is meant by discovered check. If a piece is moved which unmasks another piece, which in turn attacks the adversary's or opponent's king and thereby gives it a check, then it will be called a discovered check. That is, here the check is not given directly to the opponent's king, but by unmasking a piece by moving some other piece. That is why it is called a discovered check. For example, here if we consider this queen, it can directly give the check to the black's king if this knight was not present in between. So if it is white's turn to play and it plays this knight to some other square, for example in this case it plays this knight to d3 square, then the queen's way is open and now it attacks the black's king, and hence black's king is under check. So this is what a discovered check is, because here we are not directly giving a check to the king, but it is given a check by a piece which is unmasked by moving some other piece. Here in this case it was possible because the knight which was present in between the white's queen and black's king was moved to d3 square from e5 square. Now let's see what is meant by double check. Double check is very similar to the discovered check. The only difference here is that not only the unmasked piece gives a check to the adversary's king, but also the piece which is moved. Now we will take the same example to explain the double check. Now here, instead of moving this knight to d3 square, we will move it to d7 square. Now when the knight is moved from e5 to d7 square, here the knight is giving a check to the king, and also it cleared the way for this queen on b2 square, which gives a check to the black's king. So here the black's king is doubly checked, and when such a check is given, it is called a double check. So the only difference between a double check and a discovered check is that here not only the piece which is unmasked gives a check, but also the piece which is moved. So in this video we discussed what is meant by an attack, what is a check, what is discovered check, and what is meant by double check. Now in the next video we will talk about three other technical terms, that is checkmate, stalemate, and a drawn game. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and thanks for watching.